Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite was from the Utilita Arena in Cardiff, Wales, and Dynamite was taped tonight. And this was the go-home show for Allin, which is this Sunday in Wembley Stadium. And Dynamite, this was a horrendous show tonight. Absolutely awful. This show did not give me any hype heading towards Allin this Sunday. They did absolutely nothing to get us all excited to watch the pay-per-view. But what do we get on the show tonight? We got a contract signing between Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, for the TBS Championship. We had Chris Jericho. Yeah, Mr. Hi Guys. Yeah, he ended up taking on the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington. Toni Storm was in action, and she had taken on Saraya. We had the AEW Continental Championship on the line, where Kazuchika Okada defended the title against Claudio Castagnoli. And the main event, we had FTR and Darby Allin. And they have taken on the Young Bucks and Jack Perry. But that was Dynamite tonight. Overall, horrendous show it was. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, I did a movie review of Monkey Man. So check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. Love the film. Really enjoyed it. Good film with Dev Patel in it. And that was his, directorial debut. So check out my review of Monkey Man if you guys haven't seen it. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. Dynamite opened up with the contract signing between Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So Tony Schiavone was in the ring. He welcomed us to the contract signing for the TBS championship at Allin. So Tony Schiavone ended up introducing first Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So Britt Baker ended up making her way down to the ring. Got a pretty good ovation from the crowd there. And this is the first Dynamite in Cardiff. Just wanted to mention that. So Britt Baker was in the ring. Tony Schiavone ended up introducing next the TBS champion, Mercedes Moné. And of course we had the CEO, music ended up hitting. So Mercedes ended up making her way out. She was accompanied by Camille. So the champion and Camille end up heading to the ring. Tony Schiavone ended up addressing that at this contract sign, there will be no physicality between Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker, so they can't lay a hand on each other until Sunday. So Mercedes ended up getting on the mic. She ended up telling everyone in Cardiff to say hello to their CEO. Mercedes ended up promising that when she beats Britt Baker at Allin, everyone will know that Britt Baker is the past and that she is the future. So Britt Baker then grabbed the mic, and Britt ended up reminding Mercedes that she came to Allin hobbling in on crutches. And she had stated that before there was a CEO, there was a DMD. So Mercedes ended up mocking Britt Baker, and she ended up running her down. And the crowd was, cutting off Mercedes. So we have Mercedes end up saying that Britt doesn't have the guts to win this match, promising that she will not beat her at All-In. So Mercedes ended up signing the contract. She ended up saying that she will forever be the TBS champion. Then Britt Baker grabbed the contract. She got on the mic. She ended up saying that she distinctly remembers All-In last year when Mercedes was injured and watched the action through the crowd. And Britt Baker ended up saying that, before there was ever a CEO, there was a DMD. So Britt Baker then signed the contract. Mercedes got on the mic. She ended up saying that fans resonate with Britt Baker because they're losers like her. She ended up saying that Britt Baker challenging her for the TBS Championship at All-In is her dream match. Mercedes ended up saying that Britt Baker doesn't have the guts. And Britt Baker then ended up saying that she has the guts and the hearts because she never had a plan B. Britt Baker ended up saying that she had 2 plan A's. Then she ended up saying while Mercedes has always been one of 4, she's always been one of 1. Britt ended up saying that she admired Mercedes and always wanted to be her. She then ended up saying that Mercedes isn't the woman that she admired. She then wanted to say that Mercedes cares more about money than she does about her legacy. She ended up saying that when she wins the TBS Championship on Sunday, she wants to be able to say that she beat the old Mercedes. So Britt Baker ended up saying that she's going to honor the no physicality stipulation between her and Mercedes. And Britt Baker then ended up clocking Camille on the head with the mic. And Britt ended up dumping Camille on top of Mercedes. Britt then ended up landing the crossbody on top of both Camille and Mercedes. And she held up the TBS Championship. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, I thought this was very boring, in my opinion. I mean, the match, could be good this Sunday at All-In. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we know that Britt Baker is not winning the TBS Championship. Mercedes is going to retain it. And, Camille could get involved in the match as well. Considering she will be at ringside. But overall, boring contract signing it was. I mean, this is your start to the go-home show for All-In. They could have found something to open up the show more better. I liked how, Britt Baker said to Camille, she's like, oh, she's getting on my nerves. And then that's when she ended up hitting the mic at Camille's head. And then we saw Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was with the learning tree, the channel changing tree, as I would call it. So Renee ended up talking to Jericho about his match against the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington. So of course Jericho goes, "Hi guys." God, it gets worse and worse every single week. So Jericho ended up running down the fact that Tommy Billington is using the Dynamite Kid moniker, claiming that he doesn't have the right to use that name. He ended up stating that Tommy Billington isn't as good, and that the Learn Tree will prove that tonight. So Jericho ended up walking off, and we had the match, get underway. So we had Chris Jericho versus the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington. And this was just a very meh match in my opinion. So the match got underway. Jericho and Billington ended up blocking up. Jericho was shoved to the canvas by Billington. They both locked up again. Billington ended up getting Jericho in a side headlock. He ended up taking Jericho to the ropes. Billington couldn't get Jericho down, but he managed to send Jericho to the canvas with a shoulder tackle. So Billington ended up getting on the turnbuckle. He went up top to deliver a missile drop kick, which sent Jericho to the outside. Billington then ended up going after Big Bill and Brian Keith. And then he ended up sending Jericho back into the ring. Jericho then distracted Aubrey Edwards, which led to Big Bill sending Billington crashing into the ring post shoulder first. And then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Billington was in control of the match. He started delivering some right hands to Jericho. So Billington and Jericho ended up delivering a double cross body, which sent both of them down to the canvas. So both Billington and Jericho ended up fighting back to their feet. Jericho ended up getting sent to the ropes, and Billington ended up hitting Jericho with a running clothesline, and then he followed up with a drop kick. Billington then delivered a body slam to Jericho. So Big Bill and Brian Keith end up stopping Billington at the ropes, forcing him to fall down to the canvas. And Jericho followed that up with the lion salt onto Billington. Jericho went for the cover, and Billington ended up kicking out. So Billington ended up getting sent to the corner, and Billington ended up catching Jericho for a near fall. Jericho got back up. He dropped Billington down for the walls of Jericho. Billington was struggling to get out of the walls of Jericho, and we saw Big Bill taunting Billington from ringside. Billington managed to get to the bottom rope, forcing a break of the walls of Jericho. Billington got back to his feet. He ended up hitting a snap suplex on Jericho. Billington then delivered a tombstone pile driver to Jericho. Billington then went up to the top, and he delivered a diving headbutt to Jericho. So we had later on, Big Bill tried to intervene. He was sent down by Billington. He went back up to deliver another shot at Jericho, to which Jericho ended up catching Billington with the code breaker. So Jericho ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Chris Jericho ended up winning the match. Post-match, Jericho grabbed the mic, as if we haven't been tortured long enough. You know, with Renee ended up interviewing Jericho, and now we had to hear Jericho on the mic again. So Jericho ended up running down Hook. He ended up saying that if Hook was here, he'd tear him apart branch by branch. And so that led to Hook coming out. So Hook made a beeline down to the ring, and he kept staring down Jericho. Hook then got blindsided by Big Bill. Big Bill hoisted Hook up for a choke slam, and Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith stood tall in the ring, and pretty much that was basically that. Basically Jericho saying to Hook that he'll do what he did to Billington to him. So that was that. Overall, very meh match it was. And then we had Toni Storm versus Saraya. This was a Women's World Championship match, and this was very meh, in my opinion. Another very meh match this was. So we had Toni Storm end up making her way to the ring first, and then Saraya ended up coming out. She was accompanied by Harley Cameron, of course. You know, Toni Storm was, a former Outcast, member with Saraya. So the match got underway. Saraya ended up charging at Toni Storm, and Toni Storm ended up taking Saraya down with an arm drag. Saraya ended up going at Toni Storm again, only for Toni Storm to hit another arm drag to Saraya. And both times when Toni Storm ended up, taking down Saraya, she was posing. So Saraya ended up rolling onto the apron. She delivered a jawbreaker to Toni Storm off the top rope. Saraya then draped Toni Storm through the middle rope and fired off some kicks on Toni Storm. Harley Cameron then ended up taking a few cheap shots to Toni Storm on the outside. Saraya then delivered a cannonball to Toni Storm off the apron. So we had Dynamite end up going to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Saraya just throwing strikes at Toni Storm. Toni Storm ended up catching Saraya with a DDT, and then she delivered a fisherman suplex. Toni Storm ended up going for the cover, and Saraya ended up kicking out. Saraya then took Toni Storm down with the Night Cup, and she ended up going for the cover, to which Toni Storm ended up kicking out. Then Saraya ended up sending Toni Storm into the corner for a sunset powerbomb. And then Saraya delivered a goodnight off the turnbuckle. She ended up going for the cover, and Toni Storm ended up grabbing the bottom rope. So Toni Storm started to fight back. Harley Cameron hopped onto the apron, and Toni Storm ended up delivering a lip lock on Harley Cameron. She ended up kissing Harley Cameron, and that sent Harley Cameron down to the floor. Saraya then tried to blindside Toni Storm, but Toni Storm ended up rolling Saraya up, which Saraya ended up kicking out. Yet Saraya knocked Harley Cameron off of the apron. So Toni then ended up hitting Saraya with a lip lock, which was followed up by the Storm Zero. So Toni Storm ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Toni Storm ended up winning the match, retaining the Women's World Championship. Post-match, Mariah May rushed into the ring, and she laid out Toni Storm. Mariah May ended up holding Toni Storm closely and started mocking Toni Storm. And then she ended up making her way out of the ring with, of course, Toni Storm's heel. And pretty much that was basically that. But this match did not need to happen, and it was for the Women's World Championship. Obviously, Toni Storm was going to retain, so there was no point in booking this match tonight. You know, a championship match, when Toni Storm is facing Mariah May this Sunday, and the title's going to be on the line. And then we had the conglomeration. They ended up talking about their upcoming match against the Undisputed Kingdom at Collision, on AEW Collision. And pretty much, that was just basically that. Just promoting the match that's going to be shown on Collision this Saturday. And then we had the Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay ended up making his way to the ring, got a big pop from the Cardiff crowd. So then MJF ended up coming out. So the crowd ended up booing the American champion. MJF ended up heading to the ring, taunting the crowd to stay quiet. And this was a face-to-face, between Will Ospreay and MJF. Ospreay ended up getting the crowd to calm. And Ospreay ended up asking them to give MJF a warm welcome, which that got boos from the crowd, boos to MJF. Ospreay ended up remarking that it's a surprise to see an Englishman this loved in Wales. So Ospreay ended by saying that Sunday is all about clearing up the mess that MJF made, and that they should call him Barry Scott after Sunday, because bang, and the dirt is gone. So MJF got on the mic. MJF ended up saying, it's interesting that Ospreay says he'll be cleaning up his mess, because arenas have chanted for him twice as loud in comparison to Ospreay. MJF ended up saying that Ospreay might not be aware, but he came back early from injury before he was fully rehabilitated, because he was begged by top people in AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery to clean up Ospreay's mess. So Ospreay ended up saying that everyone started giggling when MJF won the World Championship, but eventually the joke went too far. Ospreay ended up saying that Tony Khan could have signed many other people, but he chose to sign him. Ospreay ended up saying that MJF has given everyone entertainment. Then he ended up saying that it's not just restoring the International Championship. He ended up saying it's about creating the feeling. He ended up saying that he's the feeling. So MJF ended up saying that he doesn't care about catering to fans. He ended up saying that he cares about the thing Americans do best, and that is winning. MJF ended up saying that he actually believed Tony Khan when he said that AEW would be safe in Ospreay's hands. He ended up saying everyone knows who he is, and everyone can agree that he's the best. So MJF then ended up asking Ospreay who said he was the best. He ended up saying that the fans who call him such know nothing about pro wrestling. And he ended up saying that they know nothing about it. MJF ended up saying that the fact is that he's the longest and youngest AEW World Champion of all time. He ended up saying that Ospreay only has one move in his chamber. And that move is, of course, the Tiger Driver 91. MJF ended up saying, facts don't care about feelings. So Ospreay ended up saying to MJF that he knows something about wrestling. He ended up saying that history can be rewritten. He ended up saying what can't be rewritten is how people feel. He ended up saying that MJF has never inspired anyone to be a professional wrestler, while the same cannot be said for him. MJF then ended up saying that, like Ospreay said, he could never be a great role model like him. He ended up saying before Dynamite, he got to spend some time with Ospreay's wife. So then MJF started taking shots at Ospreay's wife and also his kid. So Ospreay turned to Tony Schiavone. He ended up asking Tony Schiavone if he has Tony Khan in his ear. To which Tony Schiavone ended up saying yes, he does have Tony Khan in his ear. So Ospreay ended up asking Tony Schiavone to tell Tony Khan on how much the fine is for attacking MJF. Tony Schiavone ended up telling Ospreay that Tony Khan ended up saying that it'll cost Ospreay 100,000 pounds sterling, which that is roughly $127,000. So Ospreay was like, it'll be worth it. So he ended up taking out MJF. Security ended up rushing into the ring. Security was surrounding the ring while this segment was going on. So security ended up rushing into the ring to break things up between Ospreay and MJF. But, of course, Ospreay started laying it out to the security. MJF then ended up using his Dynamite Diamond ring and laid out Ospreay with it, which caused Ospreay to be busted open. So MJF ended up threatening to hit Ospreay with the Tiger Driver 91. But security ended up intervening, and Christopher Daniels rushed in to help check on Ospreay. MJF left the ring, and pretty much that was basically that. But overall, I thought this was a very good segment here. Really enjoyed this face-to-face, back-to-back between MJF and Ospreay. This match is going to be really good come Sunday at Allin. And, I think that Ospreay is not going to win it. MJF is going to retain. So that's how the way, I see it going. But overall, good segment it was. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw Hangman and Page backstage. Page ended up saying that he is going to be in the Casino Gauntlet match this Sunday at Allin. Evil Uno passed by. I didn't even know that Evil Uno was still employed with AEW. So Evil Uno prompted Page to ask him if he knows who else is in the Casino Gauntlet match. Evil Uno ended up saying that he just talked to Christopher Daniels, and Evil Uno ended up announcing that he is going to be part of the Casino Gauntlet match. So Hangman Page ended up attacking Evil Uno. He laid out Evil Uno, and he had promised him to go through everyone in the match to get a shot at Swerve Strickland. There you go. Hangman Page attacking his former friend in Evil Uno. So there you go. We got Hangman Page being in the Casino Gauntlet match and Evil Uno. And then we had Kazuchika Okada versus Claudio Castagnoli. AEW Continental Championship match. This was a good match here. So we had the match end up getting the way where both Okada and Castagnoli end up staring each other down. Both guys end up locking up. Okada ended up sending Castagnoli into the corner. So we had Okada being taken to the ropes by Claudio, and it forced the ref to intervene. Claudio ended up threatening an uppercut to make Claudio flinch, and Okada ended up taking it to the ropes. He was caught by Claudio in midair. So both Claudio and Okada were trading strikes. Claudio ended up taking it to the ropes. He was then sent down to the canvas by Okada, and then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Claudio was still in control of the match. Okada was sent down hard to the canvas with a suplex by Claudio. Okada headed to the corner, but Okada was overwhelmed by an uppercut from Claudio, and he ended up sending Okada to the outside. Claudio ended up going to the outside. He ended up charging at Okada with an uppercut against the barricade. Claudio then brought Okada back into the ring. He ended up going for the cover, to which Okada ended up kicking out. So both men got back to their feet. Claudio was laying in a couple of right hands to Okada. Okada then ended up delivering some strikes to Claudio. So Okada was then dropped to the canvas, and Claudio was able to get back to his feet. And this led to them delivering strikes to each other again. And both guys then spilled to the outside. Okada ended up sending Claudio crashing against the ring post. And then Dynamite went to another commercial. So then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Claudio was in control of the match. He ended up grabbing Okada, setting him up for a deadlift suplex. And we had Claudio end up going for the cover, to which Okada kicked out. Claudio then left the ring to take a breather. He climbed the turnbuckle, and Okada ended up intercepting Claudio, delivering a dropkick, which sent Claudio to the floor. Okada left the ring to bring Claudio back in. We had Okada end up hitting a body slam to Claudio. Okada ended up going up to the top, and he delivered a elbow drop to Claudio, but Claudio ended up intercepting with an uppercut to Okada. So Claudio was sent up for a superplex, but Okada ended up fighting Claudio off with some forearm strikes. Claudio ended up fighting back with some right hands to Okada. So we had Okada end up hitting a shotgun drop kick, which sent Claudio into the corner. Okada ended up going back up to the top for an elbow drop. He ended up going for the cover, and he ended up stepping on Claudio's chest. So Okada continued mocking the fans as Claudio sat up. So that led to Claudio end up doing the giant swing on Okada. So we had Claudio end up doing the neutralizer to Okada, which got blocked by him. Okada countered with a neck breaker to Claudio. So both guys were down. Both guys slowly fought back to their feet. And we got a 1-minute warning from Justin Roberts. Apparently it was a 20-minute time limit. So we had both guys end up clobbering each other with some forearms. Okada caught Claudio with a backslide, and Claudio ended up kicking out. Claudio then responded with a pop-up uppercut to Okada. Okada tried to roll to the apron, but he was dragged back in by Claudio. Claudio was laying into Okada, and he ended up going for the cover. And the bell ended up ringing because the time limit had been reached. So the match ended in a draw. So Okada retains the AEW Continental Championship. Post-match, the Elite end up making their way out. You had the EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, and Jack Perry. So they end up asking the crowd if they want 5 more minutes for the match. And the crowd started cheering that they want to see Claudio and Okada go 5 more minutes. But the Elite end up saying, oh, that is not happening, because Okada's contract ended up stating that he would only wrestle for 20 minutes and not 25 minutes, with the time limit draw per his contract. So they end up giving Claudio some kudos, and they end up telling Claudio to leave the ring before they physically remove him ahead of the next match. So we had Darby Allin and FTR end up coming out. So Darby Allin and FTR end up making a beeline for the Elite. Of course, we had a brawl between them. Claudio was still going after Okada. And so the match ended up getting underway with Harwood ended up getting the upper hand on Jack Perry. So Harwood then tagged in Darby Allin. We had Jack Perry end up tagging in Matthew Jackson. Darby ended up shoving Matthew away. He then ended up hitting a dive on Jack Perry on the outside. So we had FTR and the Bucks end up going at it, which I'm so over seeing FTR and the Bucks. You know, it was good the first time they went at it. Second time, good. Third time, yeah. I was like, at that point, I'm like, I'm tired of seeing FTR and the Bucks go at it. It's so overdone. So Nicholas Jackson ended up tagging in. Nicholas got some help from Matthew to lay out Darby Allin on the outside. And then Dynamite went to commercial. So then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Jack Perry ended up poisoning Darby Allin up for a powerbomb to the corner. Jack Perry ended up going back on the attack on Darby. Darby ended up fighting Jack Perry off to tag in Dax Harwood. So Dax ended up hitting a German suplex on Jack Perry. He delivered 2 German suplexes to Jack Perry. So Dax fought off Matthew Jackson. He ended up pinning a brainbuster on Jack Perry. He ended up going for the cover, but Jack Perry ended up kicking out. Cash Wheeler then tagged in, and Cash and Dax were looking to go for the Shadow Machine on Jack Perry, but the Bucks ended up intervening. Cash ended up looking to go for the Gory Special on Jack Perry, but he was caught with a double super kick from the Bucks, and it led Jack Perry to get a backslide on Cash Wheeler, and then Cash Wheeler ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Darby end up getting into the ring. He ended up unleashing Flurry on the Bucks. He then ended up hitting a Code Red on Matthew Jackson as Jack Perry was back in. And Jack Perry was caught by FTR with the Shatter Machine. Perry ended up rolling out. Darby Allin ended up tagging in. Darby Allin ended up delivering a Power and Glory maneuver, which was followed by a coffin drop, which that led to Darby Allin FTR getting the win. So post-match, the Elite end up escaping into the crowd. The Acclaimed end up making their way out to the stage. So they end up focus on running down FTR and the Young Bucks. And the Acclaimed end up promising that they will win the tag team titles at All In. Bowens then got on the mic. He ended up talking about how hard they're going to fight in Wembley to win the titles, because everybody loves the Acclaimed. So then Billy Gunn ended up saying, if you're not down with that, we've got 2 words for you. And the crowd ended up chanting, suck it. And so pretty much that was basically that. Overall, it was a meh match between Darby Allin and FTR versus the Elite. But, you know, good match from Okada and Claudio. So really enjoyed it. But Darby Allin FTR versus the Elite, that was the main event of Dynamite. And then we saw Nigel McGuinness. Nigel McGuinness was in the ring as Dynamite came back from the commercial, and he ended up introducing Swerve Strickland ahead of his match with Bryan Danielson at Allin for the World Championship. Really enjoy Nigel McGuinness on commentary. He does, good commentary on Collision. So Swerve Strickland ended up coming out. He was accompanied by Prince Nana. Of course, Prince Nana doing, the dance. So then Nigel started to introduce Swerve's opponent, Bryan Danielson. But Nigel ended up choosing to run Bryan down, and then he hyped up Swerve. Nigel ended up asking Swerve how it feels to go into this match as an overwhelming favorite. So Swerve reiterated Nigel McGuinness' point of being the most dangerous man in AEW. He kept addressing the people that he's defeated to get where he is as world champion. He kept bringing up Hangman Page, Jay White, Samoa Joe, Claudio Castagnoli, Christian Cage, and also Will Ospreay. Swerve ended up saying that he promises to dissect Bryan in the ring, doing so purposely, menacingly, and scientifically. So Nigel ended up saying that there is one man who hasn't joined that list. Swerve then cut Nigel off, saying that he isn't done. So Swerve ended up talking about both of them being from the Pacific Northwest, but he can't help but feel offended about Bryan's remarks of being ready for retirement, saying that Bryan isn't going to take that moment from him. Swerve ended up saying that he's going to make sure Bryan is not capable of getting back in the ring after Allin. Swerve ended up saying that after he decimates Bryan inside Wembley Stadium, maybe Bryan gets that itch again down the line, going to some independent wrestling show in the state of Washington. So Nigel tried to back away from Swerve, but Swerve ended up telling Nigel to stay. He ended up saying that he'll be there behind the curtain to beat him down. So Swerve ended up saying that he will be there to beat Bryan down. Maybe Bryan will have a chat with his family about having the itch to wrestle again. And Swerve ended up saying, guess where he will be? Because, Swerve's like, oh, maybe Bryan will go to Mexico and take on another persona to hide that he's got an itch to wrestle. So this brought out Bryan Danielson. Bryan ended up running down the ramp. He was eager to get his hands on Swerve. Swerve escaped out of the ring. Bryan got on the mic. He kept saying that maybe some folks are confused because he doesn't go out there every week to talk for 20 minutes about himself. Bryan went on to say that he is the best wrestler in the world, and everyone knows that. He is. Bryan Danielson is one of the best wrestlers in the business. We all know that. Bryan ended up saying that Swerve talks about crippling him in front of his daughter. He ended up saying that at Allin, when he steps into the ring in front of everyone who paid to see him, when he performs for everyone watching at home, and for his family, Swerve will have to do more than cripple him. He ended up saying that he will have to nearly kill him because he will leave his soul in this ring. So Bryan was like, one question must be asked. Will he beat Swerve for the World Championship? So the crowd started chanting, yes. They were doing the yes chant. Bryan ended up saying that the fans know the answer. And so does Swerve. So Bryan ended up leading the crowd to do another yes chant. Prince Nana pulled back Swerve, who was fuming. Bryan then posed for the crowd. And that was how Dynamite ended tonight. Overall, I thought this was a good segment to end the show with. Really looking forward to the match with Bryan and Swerve Sunday at Allin. It's going to be a good match. But overall, Dynamite tonight, horrendous show it was. And it didn't even get us hyped for Allin, in my opinion. But anyway, that's it for my review of tonight's Dynamite. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Be sure to check out my previous video, my Monkey Man movie review. And until next video, I'll see you all later.